Welcome back to SwitchCorner. My name is Alex and today we're taking a look at RetroMania Wrestling on the Switch. Well, hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family and let's get started. So today we're going to start straight with gameplay. We'll blend in story as we go. So first off, the controls here, RetroMania for sure just sticks to the tried and tested early 90s arcade-like formula in the sense it's going to keep things simple, but it's actually deceiving and there's quite a bit of depth to it. The controls though, they really come down to this: movement alongside a weak, medium and strong attack. Grapples, that's all automatic as you collide with an opponent, and you can also taunt as well. We'll get to that though a little bit later. Likewise then, of course, you can pin your opponents, and when you are in grapples you can choose a direction and input for some sort of different move. You can even reverse attacks under certain conditions. It is not an easy game to pick up though, honestly. Look, the tutorials here, they do need a little work. I had to work out most of the grapples for myself, and then it's also got this timing based system to it, and a little attention here would have for sure gone a long way. That said though, once you get it, it's a true 90s throwback, and having grown up on the wrestling of the Mega Drive era, it's instantly tugging at the nostalgia strings for me, which will no doubt be the case for many of you checking out this video today. Now the controls, they don't change from wrestler to wrestler, but each comes with their own unique skill set to explore, and that definitely kept me busy for some time. Now rounding out the gameplay then though, we also get a momentum meter. This can be found at the top of your screen under the health bar, and as it builds up, it basically allows you more guarantees that you can pull off something like, let's say, a heavy throw from a grapple. Sadly, if it fails, you're going to see not enough momentum flash on screen and your opponent will proceed to pummel you. So if you check out that bar, you've got 3 different spaces there. You want to be all the way up to the very end in that H block to pull off those heavy attacks. So I'm going to repeat this for you. It's not a particularly easy game. I got my ass handed to me those first couple of matches. You know, I was jumping into simple versus matches, choosing my wrestler, adjusting the match options, and yeah, choosing a location and getting into it. What I needed and what I eventually found was a tutorial, but it was hidden within the game's main story mode that is simply titled Story. In this, you take on the role of Johnny Retro, and essentially you're out to make a comeback after a near career-ending injury takes you out. Your goal, win the title and get revenge on those that essentially, well, nearly very much broke you. It actually opens this story though with a short tutorial. I think it would have made sense just to have put tutorial on the main menu itself, so it's a little bit easier to identify. The story though, like, it's a surprisingly fun ride with quite a bit of dialogue adding to the personalities of the roster of 16. It's not voiced, it's all text, but I really did enjoy it. Unfortunately though, I will say here, it is also very short. It took me maybe an hour and a half, but it just throws up on the screen at the end to be continued, and the devs will be releasing updates to move this forward. Modes around this then, we get £10 of gold, a journey to winning the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Retro Rumble, which is a 16-man Royal Rumble, and then a standard versus selection. In this versus mode, it allows singles, tag team, 3-way, 4-way, tag team, 6-man and tag team 8-man. A solid selection of match modes, and you can then customize a ton of rules, which even includes adding a cage to the event, but nothing quite out there after that. It's mainly cage and that is it. I'd love to see things like ladders, tables, all that good stuff moving forwards. Finally then, fighters and ring selection. We get 16 fighters on offer, covering a solid selection of wrestling history from WWE to NWA to ECW to New Japan Pro Wrestling. My favourite being personally the Road Warriors, because I grew up on them, but I will say I knew them from the WWF days as the Legion of Doom. Rings then, and again another huge selection with 17 on offer, and these not only take us all over the world, but there's some serious creativity here with locations out there like the beach, in HAL, or even Too Many Games, one of the best conventions out there. Here you'll see more than a few YouTubers in the crowd to spot from, think would of beat 'em ups to RGT85 to one of my personal favourite channels, that is Pixel Game Squad. Well worth checking out, and I'm actually going to link them in the pinned comment down below. So problems wise, I honestly don't have too many. The game has a good grasp of what it means to be a retro wrestler, and after a few matches, I've got to say I felt right at home. Now sure, the grappling can be a little finicky and it might not quite react the way you intended at times, but otherwise like it captured that vibe I wanted. It also has a whole lot of assists in the menus, so as you get better, as you kind of get like used to facing that challenge, you'll be able to start dialing those challenges back. Things like the ability of your opponents, or maybe how they start and their health meters. The real issue though, it's content. It's offline only, so you need to be around one TV if you're looking at multiplayer. Makes sense honestly, given, you know, the 90s vibe. But 2 short stories isn't really going to keep you busy for more than a few hours, and from there on out you're going to be returning for purely Royal Rumble and Versus, and that's not a ton of content honestly. The positive out of that though, there is more to come with updates promised in the future, but at release it feels a little minimal. Finally then, for problems, the only issue I had with the actual gameplay itself when playing tag team, when an opponent could jump in and intervene with my pin, I would back in the day use a strategy, you know, get out the ring, distract the teammate, then get in and pin my opponent while they are busy, you know, fighting my team. Here the wrestlers, when you return to the ring, out of nowhere just teleport back to the edges. Kind of ruined these fights for me, and it kind of took a little strategy away as well. Now if I had my wish to kind of round out this package, what are the features I would want to add? Give me create a wrestler, wrap up the story, and then add more out there kind of event types. Like I said, look, we get cage, which is cool, don't get me wrong, but the sky's the limit when it comes to match types, so let's like start to see the creativity flowing. What I will say though is this is a real passion project, and I have all the confidence in the world that we're going to see a whole lot of updates in the future. So the graphics for the most part awesome. I really like the pixel work, I liked a lot of the animation, and each of the 16 wrestlers not only have great pixel designs, but in cutscenes and story they have these great bold characters as well that I really did like. I wish in the ring they reacted to punches and kicks a tiny bit more, because sometimes I kind of struggled to read who was hitting who, but otherwise, yeah, like I said, look, very little to complain about. It looks 90s, the characters are great, and I love the environments too. Even the crowds, the announcer, the ref, it's all exactly as I expected and hoped. Perhaps a few different ring entrance animations, but outside of that, yeah, look, that's super minor, and I think they delivered exactly what they intended. Audio finally, and we're getting some simple chiptune music here, but the real highlight, it's got to be the sound effects, the punches, the kicks, the grapples. They all have a depth to them that adds some serious weight to kind of going to war. They feel like they very much, you know, hurt. Then the announcer, the crowd, all accompanied with effects too, along with dialogue for the intros and some minor commentary over the matches as well. Now the commentary does get repetitive quickly, but that is not surprising. I think it's still a nice touch, you know, it definitely adds to immersion. But once you are fed up of it as well, you can head to the options menu where it has a couple of options surrounding it. First, volume, so you can just get rid of it entirely if you choose to, or a second slider, which I really liked. It actually changes the frequency they commentate. I thought that was a real nice touch and a little different, so kudos for adding that. So the final verdict, and RetroMania Wrestling mostly lives up to what it set out to be, a throwback wrestling experience, like targeting that early 90s feel, and yeah, for the most part it absolutely delivers. The controls are simple in idea but quite involved once you start to learn them. It's definitely not going to hold back either on kicking your ass, and I think the roster, the locations, there's a solid selection. The only real issues, they are content based, so it's just as it stands a bit of a light package, a story that, you know, it's yet to be finished, a tournament-like based story to kind of round it out, and then the Royal Rumble. Now I have faith more will come in the future, but right now Versus and local multiplayer, that is what needs to be your main focus if you are going to pick up this one. A good 7 out of 10 from me then, but I can't wait to see where this one is in 12 months, because honestly we have the foundation here for one of the best wrestling games I've played in a long time, and now we have 2 great choices on the Switch. This for the fans of, you know, the 16-bit era of wrestling games, and then we also have the equally great Wrestling Empire for those of you that loved the N64. For me though, like, I have space for both because each brings something a little different to the table, and wrestling fans, this is going to be well worth the look. With that though, will you be adding this one to the library, or are you going to pass it up for the time being? What features would you like to see the game add in the future? Then a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. If you do want to check that out for yourself, I have linked it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here, join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.